I'm Jacob Hornberger, president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, and this is a message to all of the friends and supporters of the Future of Freedom Foundation. First of all, a very Merry Christmas to you and your family. And I want to say thank you to all of those of you who have provided support to FFF over the years. Needless to say, I'm very grateful and very honored that you have kept us going for some 28 years now, with the idea of presenting this uncompromising case for the libertarian philosophy. I consider this movement to be a grand movement. I am so thankful to have discovered libertarianism and to have had the privilege of participating in this movement for almost 3 decades now. It's been absolutely fantastic, and we want to continue doing that, which is why I'm here talking to you. That if you've never donated to the Future of Freedom Foundation, I hope you'll start. It would be nice to have you financially invested in the work we're doing. And if you have donated, I hope you'll give your serious consideration to renewing your support. We, as you know, present this uncompromising case for liberty, and the only way that we can do that, and the only way we have done it for the last 28 years, is through the support of those of you who send us donations. People over the years have said to me, Jacob, why don't you soften up your message to broaden your base of support? Call for tax reduction instead of the abolition of the income tax, or support vouchers instead of the radical idea of dismantling public schools, legalization of marijuana, not all drugs, and it goes on and on. And my answer is, well, look, the only way we're going to achieve the free society is by removing the infringements on liberty. That if all we do is just reform infringements on liberty, improve these infringements, we really haven't done anything to accomplish freedom. Now, we may make life better for the serfs on the plantation, just like life could have been improved for the slaves on plantations in the Old South. And surely if I was a slave on a plantation, I'd be thankful and grateful for living on a plantation that gave me better working conditions and wasn't whipping me every day and so forth. But it's not freedom, as any slave would have been able to tell you. No matter how good life might be on that plantation, it's not freedom. And that's what we need to keep focused on here in the United States. And that's what we keep people's focus on here at FFF. That in order to achieve the free society, you have to remove the infringements on liberty. If you leave infringements in place, that is not liberty. That is an infringement on liberty. Now, what about the power of ideas? Well, those of you that have been with us a long time know that we have 100% faith in the power of ideas to bring not only a shift in people's thinking, but one of those gigantic shifts in society that you read about in history, where there's this great awakening and people rise above their everyday matters in life, and they begin going for things like that are grand and glorious, like freedom of speech and freedom of religion and freedom of the press, the right to peaceably assemble, due process of law, right of trial by jury. These are all grand and glorious aspects of liberty. Well, here at FFF, we of course believe in all those, but we also believe in economic liberty. I mean, that's what we're seriously lacking in this country. We got a gigantic socialist welfare state that not only is immoral in the sense that it involves mandatory charity, forcing people to be good and caring, but it's destructive, destroys those at the bottom of the economic ladder. And you've got an interventionist warfare state that had nothing to do with the founding principles of this country, which was no big military-industrial complex, no CIA, no NSA, no national security state, but instead a constitutionally limited government republic, one that, as John Quincy Adams said, does not go abroad in search of monsters to destroy, with interventions, assassinations, invasions, bombs, kidnappings, and all the other things that the U.S. government is embroiled in around the world. Well, those things can shift. They're not permanent. The officials would like you to believe that it's all permanent. It's not. That societal shifts can take place when people's perceptions and ideas change. But in order to change, you've got to introduce sound ideas on liberty. If people think, for example, only at the level of how to reform public schools, how to make them better, and are never exposed to the idea of educational liberty, the separation of school and state, well, then they'll never think about it. In order to start thinking about it, they have to be exposed to that pure, uncompromising ideal. And that's where we come in here at FFF. We present that uncompromising case. Now people say, oh, Jacob, it's pie in the sky, won't ever be achieved. Nonsense. I mean, if you look at the United States, for example, in 1890, certainly not a pure libertarian society. You're dealing with human beings. Nothing's going to be perfect with human beings. You had a lot of crony capitalism, government business partnerships, and so forth. But you also had a society that most closely approximated the libertarian ideal in history. You have no income tax, no Social Security, no Medicare, no Medicaid, no mandatory charity, no systems of public schooling to speak of. Except for Massachusetts, there was no compulsory attendance laws, no drug laws, no NSA, no CIA, no big military industrial complex, no foreign interventions, no immigration controls. It's the most remarkable society, really, that's ever come into existence. Now, imagine how progressives must have felt, who were in the late 1800s starting to bring up the socialist ideas, the interventionist ideas, minimum wage laws, price controls, welfarism. I mean, there must have been people saying, pie in the sky, you'll never get Americans to abandon this free market, limited government way of life. Well, within 30 years, they had won. They had prevailed. I mean, that was the triumph of Franklin Roosevelt's New Deal that morphed into Lyndon Johnson's Great Society, that morphed into this gigantic welfare state edifice that really is now threatening the country with financial bankruptcy, along with the warfare state. I mean, here we start out with a country that didn't have foreign interventionism and a national security apparatus. And all of a sudden, here we have this gigantic warfare state, the world on the verge of possible nuclear war in Korea, close altercations between Russia and the United States and Syria, and of course this whole anti-Russia mentality and brouhaha that the national security establishment incites within the American people and has incited since World War II. None of this is normal. This is not a normally functioning society, and you have all these adverse consequences, including the destruction of our liberty at home, the ever-growing threat of constant threat of terrorist blowback from U.S. foreign policy. None of it has to be. That if we restore our founding principles of free markets, limited government, that's the solution to achieving a way of life that is free, that is harmonious, that is moral, that is prosperous. I mean, that's the kind of society we really would like to live in. That's what FFF's all about. Is fighting for this ideal because it's right, but also because it works. It's a practical philosophy. It brings good things. But the only way we can do this is with your support. I mean, obviously, it's not a cost-free venture. We depend on donations, and y'all have kept us going for 28 years, and we ask you to help us keep going. If you've already made a donation to FFF in the past, we hope you'll renew your support. If you already have recently, thank you very much. And if you've never made a donation, come on and be part of us. Send us a donation, even if it's $5, $10. Become vested in the work we're doing, so that we're all working together to advance liberty. So thank you very much. I want to wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And I look forward to seeing y'all and advancing liberty together with you in 2018. Thank you again, and see you later.